What if I told you that one of India's most beloved gods has been worshipped in Japan for over 1,000 years? Not as Ganesha, but under a completely different name. A name so few people outside Japan have ever heard. How did an elephant-headed god travel thousands of kilometers across mountains, deserts, and oceans to find a home on the other side of the world? This is the untold story of Ganesha in Japan.
Now, in those ancient times, there was a famous road. A very, very long road. People called it the Silk Road. It was not really just one road, it was many roads, paths and trails and river routes that connected countries together, like a long thread stitching the world into one big blanket. Merchants, that means shopkeepers and traders, would travel along this road carrying silk and spices and cotton and colorful cloth. They would buy things in one country and sell them in another. But along with their goods, they also carried something invisible. They carried their beliefs, their prayers, their gods. And it was along this very same Silk Road that the story of Ganesha began its incredible adventure, all the way from the warm, green land of India toward the rising sun in the east. Now, the most important travelers on this road were not the merchants. They were the monks. Monks are people who dedicate their whole lives to learning, praying, and sharing wisdom. They do not carry bags of gold. They carry knowledge, ideas about how to be kind, how to find peace, how to live a good life. Around 2,000 years ago, a great teaching called Buddhism had spread all across India. Buddhism taught people to be gentle, to be patient, and to seek wisdom in their hearts. And when Buddhist monks began to travel the Silk Road, they brought this beautiful teaching with them to Central Asia, to China, and then, step by step, all the way to Japan. But here is the wonderful part. These monks did not just carry the teachings of the Buddha, they also carried the whole world of Indian stories and gods that they had grown up with. Stories of kindness, of courage, of divine help when life became difficult. And among all these stories, the story of Ganesha, the loving, clever, big-eared god who removes obstacles and brings good fortune, was one that people everywhere seemed to love most of all. The first big stop on Ganesha's journey was China. As Buddhist monks arrived in China, which happened mostly between the 1st and 7th centuries, that means roughly 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, they brought Indian paintings, carvings, and scriptures with them. And in those paintings and carvings, there was often a figure with an elephant head sitting nearby the Buddha. Sometimes he looked powerful and strong. Sometimes he looked playful and kind. The Chinese people were curious. "Who is this?" they asked. The monks explained. "This is Vinayaka, a great divine being from India. He is the remover of obstacles. He brings wisdom and success to those who are sincere and hardworking." Now, the Chinese people already believed in many divine beings of their own, so they did not find it strange at all to welcome one more, especially one as interesting and powerful as Ganesha. Ganesha began appearing in Chinese Buddhist temples. He was given new names. He was drawn in new artistic styles, still recognizable, still with his beautiful trunk and his warm eyes, but now wearing Chinese robes and standing in Chinese courtyards. He was beginning to change. Not disappear, not become a copy, but grow, like a seed planted in new soil, sprouting in a new and surprising shape. From China, the journey continued. Japan is an island country. That means it is completely surrounded by the sea. And long ago, the only way to reach Japan was by sailing across the ocean in a small wooden boat. Imagine doing that. No engine, no GPS, just the wind, the waves, and the stars to guide you. Around the 6th and 7th centuries, so about 1,400 years ago, Japanese leaders decided they wanted to learn from the great wisdom of China and India. They invited Buddhist monks. They sent their own scholars to China to study. And slowly, like water filling a bowl, the teachings and the stories began flowing into Japan. And with those teachings, traveling on wooden boats, written in scrolls, painted on temple walls, King Ganesha. When Ganesha arrived in Japan, something extraordinary happened. The Japanese people looked at this elephant-headed being with wide, wondering eyes. They listened to the stories. They felt something deep in their hearts. And they said, "This one is special." In Japan, Ganesha was given a beautiful new name, Kangiten. In Japanese, this name means the Heavenly Being of Bliss, or in simpler words, the God who brings happiness and joy. But here is where the story becomes truly magical. The Japanese did not just copy the Indian image of Ganesha. They reimagined him in their own hearts and created something brand new. The most sacred image of Kangiten in Japan shows two elephant-headed figures standing close together, holding each other in a gentle embrace. Two beings, one representing strength and blessings, one representing the prayers and hopes of human beings. Two kind, gentle elephant faces resting close together, finding peace in each other. It is one of the most beautiful sculptures in all of Japanese religious art, and it grew from the same seed as our own beloved Ganesha. This new form of Ganesha was welcomed into esoteric Buddhism, a special, deep branch of Buddhist practice, led by a wise Japanese monk named Kukai, who lived about 1,200 years ago. Kukai had studied in China and brought back the richest, most detailed spiritual teachings he could find, and Kangiten was part of that precious collection. From that moment, Ganesha had a permanent home in Japan. Over the next few centuries, real temples were built in Japan just for Kangiten. The most famous is called Hozanji Temple, near the old city of Nara. It is over 1,300 years old, older than most buildings you could ever visit. And it is still standing today, still welcoming visitors, still receiving prayers. Another important one is Matsuchiyama Shoden in Tokyo, a city buzzing with millions of people and glowing screens and busy trains. And right in the middle of all that modern life, there is a quiet temple where people come to pray to Kangiten. Who comes to pray? The same kinds of people who pray to Ganesha in India. Students who want to pass their exams, families who want to stay together and be happy, people who are about to start something new and feel a little nervous and need a little courage. The prayers are in Japanese. The language is completely different. But the feeling in the heart, that hopeful, trusting, hands-folded feeling, is exactly the same. So let us walk through the journey one more time, from the very beginning to today, because it is such a wonderful thing to understand. Long, long ago, Ganesha was born in India, in the ancient stories of the Puranas. He was worshipped as the son of Shiva and Parvati, the remover of obstacles, the god of new beginnings. Then, as Buddhism spread and monks began walking the Silk Road, the stories of Ganesha traveled with them. First to Central Asia, then to China. In China, Ganesha appeared in Buddhist temples and scriptures, wearing new artistic clothes but keeping his elephant heart. Then, brave monks sailed across the sea to Japan, carrying their scrolls and their wisdom. In Japan, Ganesha became Kangiten, a new name, a new form, a new kind of beauty. He was welcomed into the deepest traditions of Japanese Buddhist worship. Over centuries, temples were built. Rituals were created. Offerings were made, not modak and durva grass, but fragrant incense and white radishes, which the Japanese offer as a sign of a pure and honest heart. And today, right now, in the year we are living in, Japanese people visit Kangiten temples to pray for happiness, for success, for love, for harmony. Just as people across India are visiting Ganesha temples with the very same wishes in their hearts. Is that not the most wonderful thing? A story that began in India thousands of years ago is still alive. Not just in India, but on the other side of the world, in a different language, in a different cultural heart. But it is the same light. So what can we learn from all of this? We can learn that kindness travels. When something is truly good, truly helpful, truly loving, it does not stay locked in one place. It finds its way to other hearts, because other hearts need it just as much. And we can learn something very special about Ganesha himself. He is called the remover of obstacles. And perhaps the greatest obstacle of all is the feeling that we are separate, that different countries, different languages, different ways of life keep us apart forever. Ganesha crossed every single one of those boundaries, and he did it quietly, patiently. One monk, one painting, one prayer, one sea crossing at a time.
If this story surprised you, leave a comment, Ganpati Bappa Moria. And if you enjoy discovering the hidden journeys of history, culture, and spirituality, subscribe and join me for the next story.